Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. It's Melissa from the Parent Collective. As you know, we are a new style of prenatal class that organises everyone by their neighbourhood and their due date. We've got lots of great and exciting news coming up because we are now launching in Long Island. Yay! We're going to be starting classes there in the fall, so watch this space. Today we have with us the ever so lovely Mrs. Nipple. Yes, she actually calls herself Mrs. Nipple. Her name is Liz, but she married a chap called Mr. Ariola. Jessica and I loved it because her strapline is, "I'm just a girl who married a guy called Mr. Ariola," which we think is fantastic. So welcome, Liz. She's going to be telling us today about her pregnancy and her birth story. So we're really looking forward to hearing about that. Firstly, though, Liz, let's start off by telling us what are the 3 things in your pregnancy that you could not do without. We've had lots of different answers, so we're looking forward to hearing yours.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I love the Parent Collective. I think this series is such a great idea. So I'll start out with my top 3 pregnancy products. The first one is the Boppy, which I'm sure all of you know as something that you probably have on your baby registries, but I actually used it to put right around my bump when I got really big. And you could put a dinner plate here, eat dinner off of it, put your computer, you need to get some work done. So it was kind of a little baby hack that I had from my first pregnancy, and it really was super useful. So my second one is BKR bottle. I drank like 4 of these a day, and it helped prevent any swelling, anything like that. So it was super helpful. I totally recommend getting a big bottle like this. You can just count how many you're drinking a day. That was my second pregnancy product I could not live without. And my third were Comrade compression stockings. They're awesome products, and they also prevented me from getting any swelling, especially in your legs if you're sitting at a desk all day. It's super helpful.
Hi Liz, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to hear about your story. Why don't we start off by you telling us a little bit more about your pregnancy, and then we can lead into your birth.
So I'm going to share my birthing experience with my firstborn, Charlie. I started getting contractions about a day before I delivered. They were painless, very small. I was not even sure if I was getting contractions or not. I just had some cramping. But as they, continued throughout the day, I then realized that they were like pre-signs of labor. So I decided to get as much done as I could. I went to the spa, I got a massage. I decided to do everything that I knew I couldn't do after I had a baby. So I did all of that. My husband thought I was crazy. My husband then came home and after work, and we decided that I wasn't in labor enough to go to the hospital because part of my birth plan was to stay home as long as possible. And then another part of my birth plan was also to do a drug-free delivery. He went to bed, woke up in the morning, and I actually didn't have any contractions. So he went to work. They started back up around 8 o'clock. I went to the doctor and just got checked, and he did say that he thought I would have the baby probably tomorrow. So I went back home. A few hours went by. They started getting stronger and more intense. So I got in touch with Ray, who came home from work. We live on Greenwich Avenue, so I decided to walk up and down the avenue to try to stay as active as possible. It was where I was most comfortable. So I did this for a few hours, and then we decided to actually walk to the hospital because the hospital is only a mile away from where we live. So we walked to the hospital, and we got there. The doctor was so confused. He didn't understand, why would you walk here? You don't have your bags. Your husband should go back and get them. So Ray ran back home to get them. And the doctor said, she has plenty of time. She's going to be in labor for a long time. It's her first baby. So he got back to the hospital. 45 minutes later, I was in full labor. I had gone from 6 centimeters to 10 centimeters in about an hour. And screaming at the top of my lungs. He came in because I had this whole birth plan that I was going to birth for hours on the yoga ball, and I had a chicken broth soup that I made that I was going to sip because I was doing a drug-free delivery, and then I had an electrolyte drink, and that just didn't work out. We both did some birthing classes, and he was all ready to be super supportive, which he totally was. But I don't think I realized, and I don't think he realized how intense it really is in labor and delivery. And he walked in, and the first thing he said was, "You need to get an epidural," which I probably, looking back, did. The doctor had no clue how long it was going to take to push, but I after only pushing for a few minutes, I really did wish that I waited. But anyway, so in that moment, I decided to get the epidural. So I got an epidural at 10 centimeters, which very rarely happens. It was about 3 hours. It completely slowed down my labor. So 3 hours went by and I could feel pretty much just pressure. It was not, I wouldn't say it was painful, but I could feel like pressure and the baby was coming down. I had an amazing nurse who was actually rocking my body back and forth so I could know and feel kind of when to push even though I had an epidural, and it really, really helped. The doctor came in, I actually only pushed about 2 times, and Charlie came out, and the one thing that I asked Ray to do was to announce the sex of the baby because we decided not to find out. And the doctor presented, and I let him know this before, just make sure you're always very vocal about that. So the doctor presented Charlie to Ray, who was then going to tell me if we had a boy or a girl, and he announced that, oh my gosh, it's a girl, which I was shocked by because the entire pregnancy I thought it was going to be a boy. And the doctor just shook his head at Ray and said, nope, buddy, try again. And I just had this look of, what's going on? Ray then was like, oh, it's actually a boy. So he got that part wrong, which is hilarious looking back, but in the moment I'm like, how did you mess that up? But we had a beautiful baby boy. He was a little peanut. He was just over 6 pounds, and yeah, so it's really an amazing experience. If you haven't done it before and you're pregnant, it's such a beautiful time. With my second, which I'll share at a later time, it was a lot different. I actually decided to go drug-free, and again, they're 2 completely different experiences. I don't even know if I prefer one over the other. They're just so different. I'll be sharing that at a later date. So that was the story of Charlie, my firstborn. Thank you for listening in. I hope you either able to relate to this experience or maybe gave you some insight into your labor, which sounds like could be soon to come. I'll be sharing my experience with Ford, where I did a drug-free delivery, which was very different, down the road. So stay tuned. You can check into Mrs. Nipple or the Parent Collective for that video in the future.